Hello everyone, today's lesson is about action plans. The final objective is to design a brochure or with the action plans for Mexican families during this COVID-19 quarantine. Let's start with these questions. Are we on vacations? Some people might say yes, some people might say no, but anyway, we need a plan. For any type of vacations, we need a plan, and we have three different levels: staycations, national vacations, abroad vacations. That means at home, in Mexican Republic, or outside Mexico. Let's start with the staycations. And when we talk about staycations, that means that we are having vacations at homes or at home or in our neighborhood. And some of the reason is because we don't have money. We just want to rest. The period of time it's very few. We don't want to be in contact with people or because of the quarantine. In this case, we're gonna use can or can't to talk about possibilities or things that are possible, and can't for things that are not possible. Let's check can. In this case, can, it's gonna be the modal we're gonna use with all the subjects I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. And after can, we need the main form of principal verb, simple form, like sleep, play, take, have, and share. And the meaning of this sentence would be something necessary. Example, my mother can't sleep late because she doesn't have to get up early to go to work. That means that my mother is not possible. It's possible for my mother to sleep late because she's not going to work. My brother can play video games more time because he doesn't have to do homework. That means that it is possible for my brother to play more time with his video games, and so on. I can take my dogs to have a walk in the park. We can have breakfast together as a family, and they can share more moments together as a family. Let's go with can't. In this case, can't would be the negative form, and that it's a meaning of not possible to do. In this case, we have here cannot have. I cannot have privacy in the common areas in the house. Why? Because my family is there. Okay, we can use the shower anytime because we need to schedule it. Dad cannot watch football all day long. My mother cannot relax with a full house members inside, and my brother and sister can be calm all the time. So in this case, we use cannot, can't, or cannot together. That are the different possibilities to write down can't. After that, we use again the verb in simple form, that is in blue, that it's the principal verb in the sentence. That means that it is not possible for me to have privacy. My dad is not possible to watch football all day long because we are at home. So let's go to the national vacations. That means that we can travel to another state in Mexico. In this case, that depends on other ideas of traveling. Maybe I have more money because I have to consider extra expenses like accommodation, transportation, or food. Maybe my trip would be alone with family, friends, or as a romantic trip with my couple. And I need to consider some of the activities and the weather that is going to be in that place. And obviously, I may have a little bit more days to go on vacation. So the length is important. According to this, we have the modal verb have to, has to, or don't have to, doesn't have to. That is a negative form. Have to and has to means necessary. So we might think about necessary things for a national trip. And we have some examples here. We have to book in advance a hotel, especially in high season. That means that it is necessary to book in advance because if I don't do it, I would have the possibility not to have a room when I get there. People have to consider the season and weather of the place to travel and pack their clothes. So it is necessary to take into consideration the season, the weather, and the climate. So I can choose the proper clothes for that trip. My mother has to close the gas and water bulbs. So when you go out from home for many days in vacations, you must be sure to close the gas. It is necessary because we have less chances to have a bad experience while we are not at home. That has to lock all the doors before leaving. As you know, Mexico is not a safety place, so we may have problems with that. Finally, we have here don't have to or doesn't have to. That is the opposite, that it means not necessary. In this case, we have again some examples. Mexicans don't have to get a special driver license to travel in Mexico. That means that it is not necessary to have another special driver license. So it is not necessary. If I want to go to Puebla or to Chihuahua or other state, I don't need to go and get this driver license. Mom doesn't have to bring her plants to the trip, so it is not necessary to bring the plants. Dad doesn't have to buy a new car. It is not necessary to buy a new car. We don't have to have our passport to travel in Mexico, so it is not necessary to carry with your passport. Okay, so remember, have to, has to. We have two options because of the subject. Has is with he, she, or it. So in the negative form is the same. Don't have to is with I, you, we, or they. And doesn't have to with he, she, or it. Finally, we can talk about abroad vacations. That means outside of Mexico. That it's a good opportunity to practice these modal verbs can, can't, or have to, has to, don't have to, doesn't have to, because we have more differences. Maybe we have to consider the money, the currency that you have to use or that you need to use, that is necessary for that country. Another language that maybe it's important to learn or to know some phrases. Some visa and immigration documents like are required or that are necessary. The weather of the season that you're planning to travel to that place. If it is safety or not, what type of attractions, what are the possibilities we can do in that place, the activities. And finally, what vaccines are required. So try to think about some countries. I just wrote some of them, but not all. Some are an advice to use, but you can choose any country you would be interested in. Okay, so that I want you to use can or can't, have to, has to, don't have to, doesn't have to practice. Okay, research on the internet and try to think about one country where you can use can, can't, have to, don't have to, etc., just to practice, and we can talk about in our class. Okay, well guys, thank you very much.